welcome to the first episode of season 12 of Power Up. Wow! I can't, just amazing how far I've gone in like 12 years. It's kind of nuts. Anyway, for today's episode, I'm gonna do like a way long time ago, I reviewed The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening for the Game Boy Color. And that's a pretty fun game, that's pretty cool, really great handheld game. In fact, ever since that episode was posted, the gaming historian did a piece on the history of Link's Awakening. It's a pretty cool piece, and you should probably, if you like that, if you like gaming history, go check him out. He's pretty cool. I have some. He's a pretty awesome. He seems pretty cool, but he's pretty knowledgeable about gaming history and stuff. That's awesome. But anyway, for this episode, I'm going to do this one. I'm gonna do the Switch remaster, redone, or reimagining, or something. This is a really cool game, and so yeah, this will be today's episode. So anyway, let's go back to Koholint and wake the Windfish once more. So again, let's roll my new. As you know, I do these. Let's roll those fancy, awesome credits. Because every year I do a new little thing. So let's get at it, and welcome to season 12. And so the legend begins once again on the Switch. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening for the Switch was released in 2019. Of course, this is a kind of a remaster or reimagining. I think I don't know, we'll say it's a little bit of each. But anyway, it is based on the Game Boy original, which then actually the Game Boy and the Game Boy original and the Game Boy Color, and the first reimagining or colorization on the Game Boy Color. And as such, they've even added the color dungeon that the Game Boy Color version had, which is pretty cool because in that dungeon, you can get an item that either increases your defensive capabilities, or I should say, reduces the damage you take, or increases the damage you deal, which is pretty cool. And I think you can go back to that and just switch between the two as you see fit if you want, which is kind of cool. And what's really cool is at the beginning of the, for the opening movie and stuff, it really is a movie, because unlike the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color versions, where it has like it has an in-game, there's a cutscene using in-game, using the Game Boy's technology. But for the Switch version, they've added a nice little anime type movie to set the scene, which is really cool. And it's really neat. And yeah, so this is really cool. So basically, what happens is, you get lost. You just think he's coming back home from a training mission, or from a training quest or whatever, after a long thing to hone his mind and skills after the events of Link to the Past. Because yes, this game is a sequel, kind of a somewhat sequel of sorts to Link to the Past. Because the original manual does kind of hint that, after the events of Link to the Past, he beat Ganon, so he's just, honing his skill. He went on a quest throughout the world to hone his skills. So anyway, on his way back from that, just on his little boat, a storm happens, and it gets destroyed by a bolt of lightning, and he wakes up on this uncharted island called Koholint. I think I'm pronouncing that right, which has this big egg on the top of its highest mountain. And so I guess this mysterious owl comes by saying, "Oh, you gotta wake this windfish, creature to leave the island." So thus the quest this is the game's quest. You get I think 8 instruments, and using those instruments you have to wake the windfish, and then there you go. And of course this is Link's Awakening we're talking about. So you see all these references to Nintendo's, Mario games and Kirby and all this fun stuff. Like the side-scrolling parts where you go fight Goombas, or you stomp on Goombas too once you get the appropriate item. Piranha plants. It's pretty cool that the development team just puts that in there. Because you think, from what I understood, from what I learned, when they were making the original game, the development team was like, "Can we even do this?" So it's like, "Yeah, we can do this. We can. We'll just put that stuff in there. No, they won't say anything." Well, apparently they did, and apparently they liked it too. So here we are. We're playing, the second basically remake or remaster of it. So I guess Nintendo didn't mind that they used the other team's properties in their own game. Although it's kind of funny, as you think Nintendo being Nintendo, you think they let, even for that, well, you think they let other, development teams, you use like their characters, considering they're just one big company. So it's kind of funny that they thought they needed permission. I guess, there's different teams, and again though, at Nintendo they probably make it easier to get permission if they needed to. But it's cool that they were able to implement all those other Nintendo characters too, which is pretty awesome. Also, what's cool about this Switch version is it adds you can make your own levels per se. Granted, it's not as fleshed out probably as Mario Maker, because I'm guessing to make a dungeon would be a lot more labor intensive than just make enemies, put in some obstacles, and there you go. And I know I pretty much just generalized that a lot for Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2, but hopefully you get the idea there. But yeah, it's like for his other dungeon, I bet that there's a lot more involved too, because there's so much other like if and things, like in these other games, with the top down view, those to make stuff appear, then you got to defeat all the enemies in the room, or do something within that room to make the thing happen. There's so much stuff, and it's like, I bet that'd probably be more like, you probably have to think a lot more when you make a dungeon. It's not just, as I just said, much easier as Mario Maker probably is. So, but though it is pretty cool that Nintendo implemented a feature like that anyway within Link's Awakening. Although I think you have to get although you don't just get all the things at once. I think like Mario Maker 2, you have to get tiles and stuff and so on and so forth, and then you can play them and all that. And of course there is amiibo support as well, which also is kind of appreciative and nice and cool. And of course, I probably won't need to go over too much more, because what I probably said already, I probably said in my original Link's Awakening Game Boy Color review I did much earlier in this show's life. So not much more needs to be said, but I just wanted to do it's like a remaster, and just go over a couple differences between the two versions, or the three versions, the two Game Boy versions and the Switch version. And of course, also, what's cool is for those of you who like EverDrive and stuff, There's also a MSU1 enhanced version that you can get for your FX Pack Pro or SD to SNES, whatever they're calling, or aka the SNES EverDrive, which adds the Game Boy. They do the Game Boy version of Link's Awakening, but it adds I believe it adds the Switch version, the Switch version's music, which is kind of a cool touch, and it's a cool way to play. It's kind of a cool way to play the older Game Boy version with the newer version sound. It's kind of cool. If I gotta say. So yeah, you can try that out too. I guess I should add that. So yeah, it's a really cool. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of MSU1 stuff too. So if you got the aforementioned EverDrive, go ahead and give it the download. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, if I may say so. And also, I should note too, there's a difference in how many seashells, secret seashells you need to get the level 2 sword. That has been changed, although most of the other shells are there from the Game Boy versions, but they've added a lot more locations for other shells. So that they did that, and they basically tweaked a couple of the other things. But for the most part, the dungeons are basically the same. So if you knew the dungeons in the Game Boy versions, you'll probably follow through them here with no problem. And everything else is basically an exact, it's pretty much everything is. If you found it in the portable versions, you'll probably find it in the same place here. So that sometimes isn't a bad thing if you've played the Game Boy versions a lot. But if you haven't played any of those, or you weren't born around the time those were made, then hey, then you got a cool adventure to play through. But anyway, with that said, if you want to get this game, it's still available at this time. And being a Nintendo game, it's probably going to be really, really expensive for the remainder of its lifetime, because apparently Nintendo games sure love to hold their value. So that can be good and bad depending on how you slice it. But anyway, if you like Zelda and you love the Game Boy version and you want to play through its Switch equivalent, give this game a go. So my recommendation scale is highly recommended. And as always, it's been a while since I've done these end mentioning things, but I can't help but every episode, this has been kind of a little tradition for me ever since. This has been a thing ever since I started my first season of Power Up. Even though Level Up Games is kind of reduced in presence these days here in my state of Minnesota, they're still around. So always, as I always like to say, but in a different way, if you live in or around Hastings, Minneapolis, or the Minnesota State area, in the areas of Hastings or Minneapolis, please visit my friends at Level Up Games. They have awesome stuff and awesome geeky things and a bunch of games and comic books and all that fun stuff. And the information will be on the screen somewhere, probably below or wherever. So yay! And then that's how I say that. I like to think, and anyway, and myself personally, I just want to thank you for. It's hard to believe I've done 12 seasons of this show. And also, I always do all of these for fun. This is just a strict hobby for me. And yes, I was on Twitch I could have sworn 1,000 times over, but it just wasn't for me. And to me, it didn't say too much, but I felt it was a little bit, plus to me, at least YouTube allows these high resolution things I can post, as well as I can do high resolution streams. My opinion, of course. See, YouTube as a platform allows me more options when I come, for my creativity. Whereas if your Twitch is just because it's just a streaming game or just chatting over platform, I feel I can't do as much with it, and to me, I really don't care much for the community aspect. Some of these communities I have to stay away from. So, and yes, I have deleted most of my Discords and all that, so just don't ask me about that. I just rather talk with people like this. Like, not like this, but I mean in real life, or on, But anyway, with that said, and I just kind of had a comment there. As I said, I kind of, I hope all of you are doing well. I'm doing good too. And yeah, and for going forward, I'm probably just going to be here, and I'm just going to be here on YouTube, and as long as this persists, I guess. So, and I do have a website as well. That's cool. That's kind of floating around here too. And I'll probably put it in my description. It's on my about me on my YouTube channel as well. So there's that. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for that what I do next. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing night, and as always, thank you for inviting me onto your screens, no matter how big or small, and have an amazing rest of your day or night. Happy gaming.